Right, we are live. Let me get the Amazon one going here. And we'll be up and running momentarily. So what we're going to do today, and let me get my social app going here. What we're doing today is taking apart this laptop, which is a Lenovo ThinkBook 14 Gen 2. And this thing, let me go live on Amazon here real quick. So this thing, hello Romeric, is a Ryzen-based laptop, and we started doing all of our testing on it. And it shows you sometimes how quickly things can go off the rails doing what I do. And the reason why this went off the rails a little bit is because it was performing very poorly compared to other similar devices that I have looked at with the same processor. And what I discovered is that this is running in single channel memory mode. So as a result, because it only has one memory stick in there, and actually it's soldered on, it wasn't running nearly as well as it should. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop in this extra 8 gig module that I had kicking around. Hopefully it's compatible with this one, because I pulled it out of another computer. And then we're going to run some of the benchmarks again and see if this does better. So that's the game plan. And I like these ThinkBooks a lot. You know, they're kind of like the, they're in between a yoga and, or a, you know, an idea pad and a ThinkPad. So if you haven't seen these before, they have some business features that you would find on a ThinkBook or a ThinkPad, but you have like the consumer keyboard, and you don't get the nub or anything like that on there. But what I like about it is that you get, let me switch over to the other camera here, you get Ethernet built right in. Look at that, Ethernet, full-size ports. So it's kind of like a small business laptop. We just looked at their 15-inch one the other day. And this one does not have Thunderbolt. These are just USB-C ports on it. But this is the AMD, let me get it focused here. This is the AMD Ryzen version. Let me put my hand here, it'll focus on that. There we go. So I was going to shoot the review today, and then I started wondering, you know, once I got it back from Jake, he was doing all his stuff on it. So what happens is the computers come in, Jake picks them up, he starts working on them, and then we look at the results and see how it did. And what we found was that it didn't do very well at all, and it was supposed to do much better than that. So we're going to take it apart. I'm going to shut it down first. We're going to stick some more RAM in it. And I have a feeling that once we stick in that additional RAM module, that this will perform much better. So that's the game plan. So let me go say hello to some folks, and then we're going to get to work. I'm like really dragging today. I feel fine. I'm just tired. Partly because the kids don't have school today, so that kind of messed up the morning. So it feels like a weekend, but it's not. So America's here from France, I believe, is where America's from. Elaine is here from Phoenix. Hello there. Tej Analysis is here. R.W. Stark is here from Houston. Ed is with us once again from Metro Detroit. Shubham is here from India. Reese Armstrong is saying hello. We have Random from Indianapolis. Red Hornet asks does it have the keyboard toggle? I don't think so. I'm not sure what tell me what the keyboard toggle is. I'm not sure what that is. Reese likes the ThinkPad for the rugged design and the keyboard. Yeah, this has the more rugged design. So I think these are all aluminum, all of the ThinkBooks. But it doesn't have, and it's very rigid, so when you're holding it like this, it doesn't bend. It feels pretty good. And I'm seeing a lot of screws on this. So it's got a nice, you know, more rugged feel to it. Let me zoom the camera out a little bit so you can get a better view of it. And this one, so they've been doing a lot now, Lenovo this year, with laptops having both AMD and Intel versions available. And this is the AMD version. I also have a Yoga version of this with the Intel chip that we'll look at after this one. So yeah, we've got a lot of Yogas and Lenovos coming in. So Reese says, I'm a kid and I dropped my stuff, so it's good to have the the thing there. But yeah, there's no nub on this. Everyone likes the track point. I actually have. I think you've all seen this before. It's not around where I am at the moment. Oh, yeah, here it is. I bought this not too long ago. Or actually, I didn't buy this. They sent this to me. I love this. This is a ThinkPad keyboard with the nub built in. But that's all it is. It's a wireless keyboard. It's become like my go-to because it's a ThinkPad keyboard. It's great. Kevin is here from Florida. Chris Allegretta is joining us once again from a secure, undisclosed location somewhere on the cyber interwebs. He could be a construct, like an AI, right? Or an AGI. Jan wants to know, ever tried a Lenovo? I look at a lot of Lenovos because they have so many different products and they just send me everything. So what's funny is like if you look at an Apple, I'm just looking for the right screwdriver to put into this thing. And by the way, if you're watching on Amazon, I will put the toolkit that I have up front and center here. This toolkit's very affordable. I'll show you what it looks like. And if you click on the Amazon link, you'll be taken right to where we are right now, and you can pick this up for yourself. It comes with like a little spudger. It's got all sorts of little goodies in there. And what I got to do is just find the right head for these screws, because these are the kind of like really shallow screws that can very easily get stripped. So I'm going to be really careful here. And they look like little Phillips heads. But I got to find the right head and not push it, because these things can strip super easy. That one will do it. Let's see. All right, so let's see what we get here, and we'll start the surgery. But I like the Lenovos. I think they've come a long way over the years. They've got two main lines that they produce, which of course are the IdeaPad and the ThinkPad, and they have their Yogas, or the ThinkBooks, I should say. And these are the ThinkBooks, which kind of sit in the middle. And I think this actually turned out to be I wasn't sure like why they needed yet another brand. Maybe they're not sure either. But I'm finding that if you try to buy one of these, they're hard to get because they're less expensive than the ThinkPads, but they have some of the upgradability. So as you'll see as we work our way into the computer here, that it might be fairly easy to get it taken apart and upgraded. Now, my understanding from what I'm reading about this one is that it has 8 gigabytes soldered on the motherboard, and then a slot for an additional RAM amount that you might want to install. And so this one, by default, because this is an 8 gig model, it had just the built-in RAM and not any additional. So we weren't getting the benefit of dual channel memory. So hopefully this module I pulled out of a different computer will work on this one, because I have another 8 gig module that we're going to put in. That'll bring this to 16, and then we'll get our dual channel configuration going, and I should be able to hopefully get a better sense as to what its performance will be. So we'll run a benchmark, and then a couple of viewers wrote in and said that I should start looking at newer games in my reviews. So we have Red Dead Redemption 2 actually downloaded onto the computer. So we'll see if we can get it to run, because we had trouble getting it to run with only the single channel of memory. So we'll see how it can do with that. And we'll try like No Man's Sky or something too, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. So let's get this screw out of here. It's got these really weird, like, long screws. And the good news is I'm not stripping them, so that's good. I found the right head on there. And Chris got just got that screwdriver set from Amazon. Yeah, this thing has proven to be really helpful. I got this during one of the Prime Day sales. And the other thing that I got is this magnetic screw holder, because what I found over the years is that when you're taking these laptops apart, the screws are all different sizes. So you lay them out as you pull them out, so you know where they go when you put it back together. And then you can use like one of those whiteboard markers on it. So those can be really, really useful. And a lot of times, like, you'll see like the middle screws of different size than the ones on the end, and so it's best to just have it neatly organized when you go to put it back together. Sometimes all the screws are the same size, other times not. So the computer I took apart to get the RAM module out of had 2 different screw sizes. Some have like 5 different sizes, depending on where you're at with it. And although this is not an easily accessed upgradable machine, it actually, once you get the screws out, isn't hard because the whole bottom plate here is going to come off. Red Hornet is watching and listening on Amazon with the YouTube chat popped out. That's a good idea. Yeah, the YouTube, I think the Amazon is a little less latency between me and you. See, this screw is really kind of long. Let's see, let's keep going here. Yeah, the middle one's always the tough one. RW Stark uses an electric screwdriver. That's not a bad way to go. I have one kicking around somewhere. I just don't have something this with all these different bits that is electric. I'm sure there's probably something out there. What I like about this one though is it also has, like, the top part can turn too, so you can get a tighter fit on things when you need to. But I like to be really careful with these things, especially because these are not mine. So this as usual is on loan from Lenovo, so I don't want to break it. So I want to be very careful about accessing it. And this screw does not want to come out. The weight of the screwdriver is weighing down on it. So I can put my finger in there just to give it a little, there we go, okay. So far all the screws are the same size, but that could change as we keep working our way through here. And we'll keep going. And if you're just tuning in, we're going to upgrade the RAM on this thing. And Zoran is asking about the battery. We will find out when I get into it. I think it's probably a 45 watt-hour battery. It's a smaller unit. But we will see when we get in there and take it apart. And these screws have like a weird shape to them. So they've got like a 2-tier kind of, like the bottom part has all the screws, all the threads. And the top part is just kind of almost looks like a nail. All right. So now we got these 2 layers, and now it is time. The bottom one's here, and I bet you these are probably a different size. So let's, oops, see that's where I want to be careful because these are almost a different, I'm going to get a slightly larger bit on that one because it almost started stripping. And once these things are stripped, you're never getting into them again. So that's what's nice about this, this screwdriver set is I've yet to find a screw that I couldn't unscrew with this. So this has proven to be a really useful part of my workflow is having this this screwdriver set. The bits are not, like the bits are kind of softer metal, so they're not, you know, they're not, I think they'll wear down over time, but they tend to work in just about every scenario I've been in. Oops, except when you drop them on the floor and lose them. And RW Stark says, just fix them with duct tape. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's not coming out. There's always one screw that gives you a hard time, isn't it? And just as I was worried about, like these screws are really easy to strip, so I'm just trying to be super cautious here. Great. Yeah, that one's not coming. I may not be able to finish here. Let's see. Let's try this super big one here and see if it can coax it out. It's too big. It's weird because the ones on the bottom here are the same, they look to be the same size for the most part. And it's weird because like they often don't mind you, or you know, Lenovo's pretty good about upgrading on the business laptops, which this one is. But some of their consumer models, they don't like people, you know, the company's fine with it, or the people I work with are fine with it, but there we go. All right, that one worked great. Okay. Yes, these are much different screws. These are smaller, so that's why I like having this magnetic mat, because you can organize it all out. So I have the 6 up here, and then I got the ones in the bottom that we'll be pulling out next. BB Garnett wants to know if I buy it, if I break it, do I have to buy it? Probably, I would probably have to buy it if I broke it. Yeah, so part of the agreement is they you're kind of responsible for it when it's in your possession. But I have yet to break one, although the day is still young. And I have a feeling that if it did break, they would probably be okay. You know, what's interesting about the accounting for these things, I was talking to some people that, not from Lenovo, but from different companies, is that, these are assets. So, you think that it would be free, but no, the review departments have to order these. They have a budget. So it's an intercompany transfer of funds. So the review department actually has to buy these from another part of the company. So there's only so many available. So that's why they loan them out. And then when I'm done, it goes to somebody else. I'm not sure how they decide who gets what, but they know that I like these lower cost units, and that's kind of my niche. People aren't into the lower cost stuff as much as they are the more expensive stuff. And I think there's a lot of value out there that people don't often need, like the super high-end one. And what we're doing now is just relatively gently, just kind of coaxing the bottom off of this. And this is all metal. This is an aluminum case. So it's a little harder to get these off because they are aluminum, which is good. They don't flex as much, but they also don't separate as easily. So I try to be really careful with these things because you don't want to force anything. Especially the ones that have like plastic and metal together, it doesn't usually go well when you force things. And then eventually, once you get these little spudgers in there, it starts to separate and you're in good shape. And you want to be careful about shoving metal into these things too. So using a plastic spudger is the way to go, especially when you first open it up because the battery is always still connected. And so even though the computer is off, it's kind of on. It's never truly off anymore unless you disconnect the battery. Let's keep working our way through here. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to take a little B-roll shot here because this is going to be part of the main review when we shoot the review that I hope to do later today. And so let me get the camera positioned and set up my recorder here. And we'll go to a new folder, and we'll call this ThinkBook Ryzen 14. So I think this one might be an attractive machine for a lot of you. Now this is not running with the new Ryzen processors that just came out. I am getting in some soon, so I'm on the hunt. And it looks like that Ethernet's going to be a bit of a pain there. There we go. Okay. So now it's separated. And so we're going to hit record real quick and lift it away. Ooh, look at that. All right. Now it looks like, so we're not going to take the whole thing apart here, but there was a question about the battery. And the battery is a 45 watt-hour battery for the person who asked about that. And now our RAM slot is right here. And this is your NVMe slot. And it looks like it's got a SATA drive in here too. Just trying to see what's under there. I don't think there's a drive in here, but it's got a spot for a SATA drive. I'm just trying to see if there is an interface somewhere for that drive. Yeah, so it looks like there might be a SATA drive in there actually. Huh. We'll find out. I didn't hear anything whirring. But you got your NVMe here, SATA here, and I think there is just a single NVMe slot on this one. And we looked at the 15-inch one just a little while ago. That's right, Zoran had asked about the battery. And I'll take some more questions here. I was looking in here. Zoran says also that they make it kind of a pain to get into these things. Yeah, they really do. It gets annoying sometimes because like you'd like just to have it very easily pop off. And I think what it is too is customers want that nice, solid, locked up kind of feel to it. You don't want to have any gaps and that sort of thing. So the tolerances are very tight on these, and that's kind of what they go for these days. Yeah, this has 256 gigabytes in here, and then it looks like you've got room, so you could put in a longer one if you wanted to get a longer NVMe in there. So yeah, and these are going to be tough to upgrade because you kind of want to have your RAM go in pairs. I'm just trying to see the best way to get at this this plate here. So this plate is protecting the RAM slot, so we're going to just undo that stuff there. And there should not be any RAM in here right now. Wow, that thing's really on there. So what's, oh, here it is. There we go. It's like stuck on. Looks like it must have used some kind of adhesive on this. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is the RAM slot. And as expected, this did not have any built-in, has built-in RAM. And then if you want to add more, you put in a stick. And this is like a stick of DDR4. And I hope it works. I pulled it out of a different laptop. But that goes in like that. And now we have essentially upgraded the RAM. And oops, shoot, hey, you gotta be really careful with these metal things, especially if you don't disconnect the battery. My advice to you all would be to disconnect the battery before you start playing around with metal near your computer. And this is more for shielding than it is for anything else, but we'll kind of put it back. I'm not gonna screw it back together because we're just gonna wanna see if it performs okay after I reassemble it. Now, where did I put the case? Here it is. So we're just gonna snap the case back on. It'll snap back in, and then we'll re-spudger it and pull the RAM out when we're done. All right. So you can see how long it takes to take it apart and how quickly it goes back together again, right? So there we go. So now I'm going to move. This is the other reason why I like having this, because I can move this and not worry about the screws rolling off of it. So we're going to put that down over there for a minute. And now we're going to boot it back up. Hopefully it does come back up. There it goes. Okay. So now I'm going to go grab the power adapter for this thing. And we are going to run some benchmarks on it and see if it fares better than what it did earlier. So let me go grab the power supply. And this is a Ryzen 4500U in this one. So we've seen these before, a lot of them. We've reviewed tons of these already. But what we haven't seen is this particular one with the Ryzen. And so what's going to be fun about this little exercise is that this one, as you saw, didn't have any RAM in that slot. And it was running in single channel mode, which is not as quick as dual channel is. I'm just going to put it on my Ethernet here. So, let's see if it gets on the network here. Oh, you know what? I don't have it fully snapped in, so that Ethernet is not connecting very well. Probably should have snapped this in before we turned it back on. Let's try that again. See if you can get a connection. If not, we'll just go off the Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's not getting in there. There it goes. Okay, it's in. And I think that cable is not coming out now. So it's got a 65-watt power supply. Let's put this in here. Okay. So there's some discussion about whether or not to put a hard drive in or a larger battery. You know what's funny is that they've made laptops that have, like, they're all battery. They weigh a ton, but they go for a super long period of time. This one is not one of those. And I think it's always a balancing act of, like, what does the consumer want versus what can they stuff in there. And let me just retry the connection here real quick. So now we should have a network connection. And what we'll do first is we'll run the run our Steam benchmark, or our 3D Mark benchmark on it, and see how it does with that. And then we'll try a few other things. So let's see if Steam got loaded up here. And I will log back in. Bear with me, everybody. Where did Steam go? And I did install the other drivers on it too, the AMD drivers. And let's get Steam going here. There we go. And I gotta talk to Jake because it looks like he's downloading all of these games again. Hang on. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna send him a note while it's fresh in my mind here. Okay. All right, we'll load this up. Screen's pretty nice on this. It's a little on the brighter side, which is good. I don't think it's like as bright as what we saw earlier. And what I'm going to do now is two things. One, we're going to look at CPU-Z just to see if we're getting the RAM detected here. Let's just double check that. And CPU-Z, because this was what I was running before to see what the RAM situation was. And let's get our rundown on this. Somebody's in my driveway. It's the Amazon truck. Yep, the Amazon guy is dropping stuff off. I think it's the Amazon guy. Okay, yeah, we have those Amazon trucks now in the neighborhood. So, okay, so if I go to memory, now it's 16 gigabytes dual channel. So that's what we wanted. Perfect. Okay, so now we're just going to run the Time Spy again on this thing, just as a first step, and then we'll see if we can get something that didn't run before to run now. So the keyboard, and just to answer some questions here, the keyboard isn't bad on it. It's pretty much the IdeaPad keyboard, so it doesn't have the deep travel that the ThinkPads have. The trackpad isn't bad, but it's a little springier than I would like. So I like a little more squishiness to my trackpad. It's hard to explain, but it feels a little too springy for me. So I'm not 100% on the trackpad. It's not bad. And as you can see, it's got a backlit keyboard. So that's pretty good. Get it positioned here. I'm just going to turn the brightness down on the camera a little bit. Jan is asking, does it run Linux? We're gonna look for that in a few minutes. So that's one of my checklist items before we close out my stream today, is to get some B-roll of it running Linux. So I do have a bootable Linux that will pop in Ubuntu just to see if it runs. I have found that these machines run Linux just fine, these Ryzen 4500s. So I would expect it will work fine. Ivan Martinez says, will it game? That's what we're looking at. It probably can. It's a 4500U. Which is the Ryzen chip, you know, I guess now the prior generation, because the 5500s are coming out. But it should be able to adequately play some games. And we're going to figure this out. Travis Rhodes is here. Hello, Travis. And he's building I guess those Intel i9s have been getting cheap, so he's building his dream PC for a good price. Yeah, this, my production machine here runs with a i9 also. I think it's a 9th generation. Yeah, it's a 9900, I think, is the one I've got. Prime is here. Hello. So this is an 8-core processor on my production machine. And then I've got the 1080, the GTX 1080 that runs all the video. Does all the video processing. Yeah, I built myself a nice little production machine. It works just, actually, you know, in some ways, because it's running with vMix, it feels more flexible than my TriCaster did. I have not touched my TriCaster in over a year now. I got to sell it. I just don't use it. So we'll let this finish up. This is a benchmark, which I think would be an awesome, this would be like an awesome VR game. You know, that notion of having like this little hand mirror that goes into the past. I think that's such a neat concept. And this is just, again, a benchmark, but I'd just like to watch this and imagine what a VR title like this would be. Ayan wants to know, can it run BeamNG Drive? I would imagine it probably could. You know, you don't have a GPU on this. I've found that the equivalency here is like an MX150 NVIDIA GPU is what I found these 4500s to kind of run close to. So whatever runs on something like that would probably run here. And this is the bane of our existence right now with all the crypto going on. You can't get yourself a GPU. Very, very true. At NMR, yeah, you can get them, but you're paying top dollar for them. So absolutely. Heffen's asking, is anyone having issues with Windows updates? I've been okay on mine. I don't know about anyone else. So I'd love to hear from anyone that's having trouble. I am having trouble, though, replying to my Hangout chats right now on my Chrome browser. I'm trying to send Jake a message, and I'm not able to get to him, so let me do it on here. And we're going to let this kind of run for another minute or two. All right, we're going to let this continue running here for another minute or two. So here's another question. Dianzias Dagala says, which would I choose, this new ThinkBook or a used T14 with a Ryzen 4650U? I think they would probably perform close to each other. I haven't tried the T14, so I can't give you a affirmative one up or down on that. Actually, did I look at the T14? I might have. I think the ThinkPads are really solidly built. This one isn't bad at all, but I think if you like that ruggedness, you're going to like the ThinkPad. Actually, you know what? I did look at the ThinkPad T14. Let me see. I think I compared this one. Yes, I did actually. I did a whole head-to-head with the Intel versus Ryzen on there. I found it to be a good machine. I would probably go with the ThinkPad if I were you. Ayan's asking what the battery life is on it. I don't know yet. I need to do a little bit more to get that battery life there. Battery life is hard to measure also because everyone does different things, and the battery life that you experience doing the things that you do is different than what somebody else might experience, right? So that's kind of the tricky part. All right, so now we're doing much better. So let me get my spreadsheet pulled up. If you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can see the sheet that I'm working on. And let me just go in there and update this, because that's kind of the story of this one when you're shopping for it, is making sure you configure it the right way. So it is performing. So I looked at the T14. Let me look on this sheet here and see what. So when I looked at the T14 with the 4750U, this actually is a little below that, but that's because it's got a different processor. So this is a good score. So before, let me go back to the list here. So this is the ThinkBook 14 ARE. Okay, so the G2 ARE. Without the second stick of RAM, the score was 609. Now it's 997. Isn't that crazy? So this is why you want to get this thing with 2 sticks of RAM installed. And you know now that by default it's got 8. So you got to get an extra 8 gigabytes configured when you buy it, or you buy yourself a 4 gig stick of RAM to stick in there, because then you'll get the performance that it's supposed to be running at. So now, this is the ThinkBook 14. I'm just going to repaste this in here. 2 sticks, and we got 997. The fun part about this is that it will give me something to talk about in the review, because a lot of times we review laptops, we talk about the same things every time, right? And I'm just putting in the scores here. If you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can see the actual sheet that I'm working on right now. So just to show you what I'm reading off the screen here, graphics test 1, I got 5.87 frames per second. Graphics test 2, we got 4.96 frames per second. And then on the CPU test, we got 13.32 frames per second. And so it is almost, it's probably about 70%-ish faster with the second stick inside versus not. And that's why you got to be really, you got to do your homework on these. And actually, to Lenovo's credit, in the product description of it, you can, in the product description for this, they tell you how the RAM is configured. So it'll say 8 gigs soldered, but room for more. So when you look at the 16 gig one, it's like 8 gigs soldered, 8 gigs installed, right? So that's what we have discovered here. So that's the first thing I wanted to look at. So the good news is this performs exactly like it's supposed to with the right amount of RAM. Now, the next thing we need to do is, here it is. Ugh. By the way, we're going to have a new game controller to look at next week, and I'll let you guess what you think it might be. And right now what I'm doing is just trying to find a cable here. I found sometimes it's just easier to plug my controllers in than deal with all the other stuff here. But let's see if I can find a... I have to go through another cleaning of this disaster of an office that I currently occupy. I go through these things where I just kind of toss everything on the floor, and then it tends to kind of become a big mess, which is kind of where we're at right now. Bear with me here, folks. Just trying to find this one cable I'm looking for that I know is on the ground here. Oh, that's not the one. Okay, so it's this one. And Heffen gets it right, an 8-bit DOE controller, yes. It's a remake of a very popular one, kind of the next generation of it, if you will. And so we're going to look at that next week. There's an embargo on it, so I got to wait, and you got to wait as a result of that embargo there. And I've got USB-C cables all over the place, but not a micro USB. So let me keep digging here and see if I can find the one I'm looking for. see. This one is not, another USB-C. I'm going to go pull one out of my drawer. Hang on one second, folks, and we'll continue onward here. So the next thing we're going to do is try to get that game running that couldn't run before. Okay. So now we got what I'm looking for here. I could have just connected this with Bluetooth, I guess, but I always got to do it the hard way. Okay, so now we're going to plug this in. And that was the controller vibrating there. All right, so now we're going to go and McAfee's bugging me. All right. Okay, we're going to load up Red Dead Redemption real quick. So Ovan just bought the 4700U version of this morning. So did you get the 16 gigabyte one or the 8 gigabyte one? Because if you got the 8, you're going to have to put another stick in. And yeah, we're going to take a look, after we do 2 B-roll clips, we're going to look at getting Linux installed on here. And let me ask you this, Sandy M, because they said you can go up to 40. What I have found on the Intel machines is that they don't like having split pairs of RAM. Is that the case with these also? Because that's been something I've struggled with on these things. And I'm wondering why I am unable to send messages on Google Hangouts this morning. That's how I communicate with Jake. It's not letting me send him messages. Okay, so we'll let this load up real quick. It is running off the internal hard drive. All right, so Ovan did 16 gigs of RAM. Yeah, you're going to be fine then. Because I found that, and we'll talk about this in the review, that there was a significant difference in performance without having that extra stick of RAM in there. And Zoran says, yeah, good luck with this game. Yeah, I'm curious. You know, what we're going to do is we're going to go and just turn the settings way down on this. I've actually not played this before. I bought this because I was getting some heat in the comments about not running modern or up-to-date games. So, you know, we've been typically doing our usual, you know, GTA 5 and a few of these other things. And here, let me get Fraps loaded too. And so I said, all right, you know, you guys are right. I need to start looking at some newer stuff. So I bought, this was on sale, so I bought this one. And so I got everything like set to low. So let's, oops, I hit the wrong button there. So we're going to go full screen. We're going to have 720p, because I don't think you're going to get 1080 working well with this. I'll turn off, this and just see if we can get going there. Okay, so we're going to do that, and I'm going to apply changes. There we go. And let's see how we do. So Alex Guy wants to know, what did we miss? Well, what did we miss? So far, we have taken this computer apart and put in more memory, because what we discovered in the course of getting, oh, it's actually a graphic preset level. Perfect. You know what? Let's just set that to low. Because I have found that if you can set one of these things, favorite performance, I see this is just like a, yes, we're going to go completely on the performance side. I have found with these AMD machines, as like most machines actually with built-in graphics, that you need to have dual channel memory. And this one is not quite a budget machine. It kind of sits in between the IdeaPads and the ThinkPads. And it came with 8 gigabytes of RAM, but, and perhaps isn't appearing on here. And we got to go back into settings. It dropped out of full screen. What I found was that this machine was not performing as fast as I thought it should. It has a 4500U Ryzen processor inside. And that should do better than what it was doing when we first got it. And as it turns out, it had 8 gigabytes of RAM, but that RAM was soldered on the motherboard in single channel mode. And they have a way to upgrade the RAM with a single slot of memory, single memory slot inside of it. So we were able to upgrade by popping in an 8 gigabyte stick. And that seems to have improved things a bit. And I've never played this game before. I know Jake got started with it. I'm not getting a frames per second counter, so I'll pull up the we'll pull up the Steam one in a second here. And Chamflay makes a good point that yeah, Doom Eternal is now on there. I might try that one a little bit. What the problem though with using Game Pass is that we have to download all the games every time. So one of the things I like about Steam is that the games you can install on an external drive, so we don't have to spend all this time downloading. Because even with my multi-gigabit connection, it still takes some time to download, because I have found that most of these services don't even get close to a gigabit sometimes when they download. Turn the volume down a little bit here. So Darren wants to know, how much RAM do you need? It's not so much how much RAM you need, it's how it's configured. So with this machine, you kind of need 16, because you got to get it into dual channel mode where you've got 2 memory channels. So that's the way to get the best performance out of it. So if this had 8 gigabytes dual channel, like we've seen many of these laptops have, that's perfectly fine. All right, let's see what we do here. I turn the sound off because I don't know what language there might be on this. We're a family show after all. So Chamflay has been able to, I'll have to experiment with that and see if I can get it to work like that. And Chris M is impressed that it even runs at all. Yeah, we'll see. I think it's running this part just because, obviously we're not using any, there's nothing being rendered at the moment. It's at 720p right now. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. That's not bad at all. All right, so let me go and pull up this menu here, because right now we're at 720p. And what I want to do is get the on-screen frames per second counter to show up on here. Did they change this? I think they changed this, because I used to be able to see this stuff. There we go, settings. And in game, show FPS counter top left. Okay. I want to get to like a daylight scene or something. It might be a little bit more complex. But right now it's running at about 27, 28 frames per second. And this is low, like the lowest of the low settings at 720p. But it's not, I mean, it's playable. It's playable. It looks beautiful. Looks like my house at night when we have a snowstorm. That's really nice. So I'm going to let this run a little bit and see if I can get to a daylight scene here. Is there a way to do that? I don't know. I don't think Jake went too far in this. Now, what's interesting is that we couldn't get this to run at all before we put the second stick of RAM in. All right, so we'll just kind of gallop our way through here. Use right button to slow down I see, okay. Yeah, so it's running at about 23 frames per second. So yeah, you're looking at not a lot. But it's, I mean, it's playable. It actually feels okay, which is weird because it doesn't feel like it's 20 frames per second. It certainly doesn't feel 60. But it kind of feels like if you were going to run this game on the old Xbox One. All right, let's see here. What about the money? I'll turn the volume up a little bit here. And what will happen now is we'll get past this part, and then we can get a save game that I can sync up to the cloud and stuff. Yeah, now with this one, this is what's crazy about how they configured this, is that, and I'm pulling up Travis's comment here. This machine came with 8 gigs on the motherboard. So to get to dual channel, I added another 8, which I pulled out of another computer I had kicking around in the office here. So that's kind of the trade-off with this one. And it's, you know, it just drives me crazy because, like, they're selling, they do have a configuration that you can buy with 16, which will get you what you're seeing here. I'm just trying to get to a scene that's better lit, you know, like a daylight scene, just because I think it looks better for the B-roll. But yeah, we're hovering in the mid to upper 20s. At super low setting, 720p. It looks fine, doesn't it? All right. Martin Paolini is here. Hello. Oops, I just closed out the wrong button here. Give me a second, folks. I got to restore that thing I just closed here. There we go. Chris Allegretta asks, one question is, how hot is it going to get here? That's a good question. I will have to check and see what we got on the stress test, because we do test for that on the 3D Mark stress test. And this one, let's look on my list here. This one got a score of 96.9%. So it's just under passing. All right, I think I lost track of my party here. I think let's go follow them rolling this way. Double tap A while pushing. Use I to follow Dutch and Mika. What's the I button? I have the sound off, so that's part of my problem here. Let me turn the sound back on. Let's go turn it down a little bit here. The fan is going, but it's not very loud. All right, so we're going to follow this guy here. I think, you know, I think Rockstar is probably one of the best storytellers in this space. These games always have such an atmosphere to them. And GTA 5, I really like that a lot. I mean, look at the city that they did, the detail that they've put together. I think the voice acting is always spot on. What was that? Okay, so I think I got to where I needed to go here. I'm just waiting. I'm just trying to get to like a brighter scene so we can show a little bit more. And yeah, this is a. I think this is the ThinkBook 14 Gen 2. And this is their Ryzen 4500U version. Now, we are in the process of trying to get a hold of the new 5500 devices because there's now a new generation of this. And as Chris points out here, this has really driven Intel to up their game because their 11th generation chips, the i7s with the G7, are doing much better and actually are very competitive with these AMDs now. So it's been really fun to watch this because you don't always need a super power-hungry GPU to have a good casual gaming experience, I got to get the horse over to the mounting post here. Okay, hit Y to hitch your horse. Hold Y, okay. So how do I... All right, are we going to hitch this thing or what? All right, well, that's good enough. He's not going anywhere. Okay. But it looks good. I mean, it's running at like I said, it's running pretty much in the high 20s. All right, so we're going to go to the shed and hit right to take cover. Is that the shed? And hold RB to take cover. Okay. Is that where he told me to go, or maybe he told me somewhere else to go? All right, let's see. Now they're having a conversation here. Question about heat. It's not getting too bad, actually. The fan's going, but it's not that noisy. And again, we're running at, now we're about 30 frames per second here. So I think it's like kind of like high 20s at 720p. And then Zoran says we have to pew-pew inside the house. Okay, so I have to hit the weapons wheel here. Okay, so we'll pick up our revolver here. Oh, it wants me to. Okay, so now we'll jump into the house here. All right, so it's kind of like GTA in how it plays. Like I said, I haven't played this game before. I'm probably not doing this right. All right, hit A to run after the outlaw. So the outlaw is going over this way. There he is. All right. So follow Dutch. Yeah, I'm just trying to get into a better scene here so I can get a better image here. All right, so I'm going to go in the cabin. If we can get a little bit of a better lighting scenario here, I think I could. Okay. Food, medicine, and whiskey, he says. All right, so hold X near to items. Okay, so we need to do that. Grab that. All right, I'll take that. Some canned peaches. I guess we got to get a few more things here. And Zoran says there's multiple ways to play, like stealth mode or pure barbarian rage. Yeah, I tend to do the barbarian rage stuff. My time is limited these days, so I don't have time for any of this sneaking up and whatever. All right, so I can hold this to open up my satchel. Okay. Eat a provision, so I got to restore some health here. So let's eat some of these classic oat cakes. All right. That did a little better. I still haven't finished GTA 5, believe it or not. All right, so how do we get to a better lit scene here? Some salted meat. All right, well, I'm going to keep going here. Yeah, so we're running that in the high 20s here. So let me just update my Google Doc, and then I'll shoot some B-roll. And let's jump into my spec sheet folder real quick. Just give me 1 second, folks. I'm just updating my notes on this one. Yeah, this turned out to be one of those things that I thought would be a real quick one, and it turned into a little bit more just because low settings, 720p. Because it was just not running very well without, without the second stick installed. This guy runs like me in the snow. Okay, so let's go open the barn door. I'm sure we'll encounter some more bad guys in there. All right, so here comes the, here we go. So attack. Oh, this guy can take a punch. All right. Yeah, that's running at about 35 frames per second right now. All right, so we're going to interrogate this guy. I'll turn the button up for you. All right, so we're going to question him.
What are you bastards doing? Why are you up here? We're fixing to rob some train. Gonna blow the tracks.
All right, almost there. Part of the job, right?
Well, I would say it looks like you have this, Arthur. Do what you want with him. I don't care. But bring that horse when you're done.
All right, we're gonna spare him. All right, so get my gun. So pick up the left button. All right, pick up my hat, and that is X. So left button picks up the gun, and the X button picks up the hat. And LT to calm the horse. Yeah, so these low settings, the horse kind of looks a little plasticky. All right, so we're going to lead the horse. I guess we manage to calm him down. We're going to lead him to the hitching post. And hopefully we'll get to a better lit scene here so I can take my B-roll footage and move on. All right. All right, I'm going to tie him up over here. The hitching post. Is this the hitching post? Yeah, hitch horse. Okay, so we're going to hitch him up. Yeah, so the fans aren't bad on this. Actually, what the noise that you're hearing, that fan noise, is actually my air handler, which needs to be fixed. So I got one of those split systems. So that's what's kind of hitting us right now. Chris says that his daughter plays Destiny 2 on a Lenovo with Ryzen 4500, no issues, but it's either 720p medium settings on 1080p with mostly low settings, but it works. Yeah, and that's what's great about these is that, you know, for a real basic kind of laptop for a very low price. Like this one on Amazon right now is like $669, and I think you can find it, for around that price in other places. If you have the dual channel memory, you're going to get good performance out of it. It's a nice solid laptop, nothing fancy. You got the Ethernet built in. I like having Ethernet built in. I use Ethernet a lot here. So, all right, how do we skip this? All right, so I want the open road in daytime here. I think we're getting there. All right, let's skip this part. Can we skip that? Oops. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to end up playing this all weekend. I have my gaming PC hooked up to the TV upstairs. I got this big long fiber optic HDMI cable. This looks like a cool game. I've never been a big fan of Westerns, but I kind of like the interactivity of playing a Western. Is that the guy that I let... No, never mind. And this makes me think that they could probably port this to the Switch or something if they really wanted to. Yes, let me check on the price for this one as it's currently on Amazon, because I'm just going to double check that, because I just want to make sure that what I'm pointing you at has the right amount of RAM on board. Because if it doesn't, you're going to need to buy another stick of RAM. So let me go in and just check that link real quick. So this one, yeah, so this one you're going to want to put the extra RAM in. So buy yourself an 8 gig DDR4 stick of RAM, pop it in there, you're going to see some good performance out of it. And I got a super chat to thank Travis Rhodes for. Appreciate that. Let me put you up on screen here. Yeah, we're just kind of chilling out today. Nothing too strenuous. It's Good Friday. It's a holiday. My kids are not in school today. So they're over at my mother-in-law's house. She got fully vaccinated, so she's good. And I am due for my second shot on the 15th. And I am getting the heck out of here. I'm going to go somewhere. I don't know where. Alex Guy says, yeah, play Red Dead Redemption. Good thing, I think everybody's come. We're not having a big Easter thing this year. We do all the holidays. We do Passover, we do Easter. We haven't had anything. So I think just my mother-in-law is coming over. And we have one of our local restaurants is doing like full Easter dinners you can pick up and just heat up in the oven. So we'll have a nice Easter dinner going on there. I love the way the snow looks in this game. So when Jake was testing this with the single stick of RAM, couldn't get this to run at all. But as you saw, we've had high 20s here the whole time. And this is a better lit scene, so I think I'll kind of take the B-roll from here and we'll leave it at that. And the webcam has a nice little shutter. This is something Lenovo's been doing on a lot of their machines. It's not electronic, it's just a physical shutter that just goes over the lens. But it only has a 720p webcam. I think you'll start seeing some of the 1080p webcams this year. Mr. Chili Chips wants to know the Izon View camera. I have no idea. I haven't looked at that thing in years. I don't think they're in business anymore, because I think that was one of the camera companies that went out of business. And I have no idea. I am not gonna be able to help you with that, unfortunately. All right, so let me hop off of our. I guess I can just. Yeah, let me get on the thing here. Let me just grab the horse here. I'm gonna mount the horse again. Yeah, so it doesn't look spectacular, but obviously if you had like an NVIDIA GPU, when you can't really get right now, it would be a better experience. But it looks great for what you're dealing with here. We're running at about 25 frames per second, so mid-20s. At 720p, not bad. Oops, I'm going off track here.
We had the money, it seemed fine. Then suddenly they
Oh,
were everywhere.
my horse is falling down the hill here.
It was crazy. Raining bullets. Where are you going? Take it slow. Big ravine here.
Now, do the horses poop? For those of you that play this game,
Killed a girl, I know.
because that's the realism you got to go with.
But it was a bad situation. I ain't like him.
So I was reading stories that some of the cities really stunk because everybody was riding horses, right? So you had poop all over the place, all over the road. And who cleaned it up?
Shot. Mac and John, both shot too. Sean, we don't even know. I'm surprised we escaped at all. By the time you boys showed up from the other side of town, we were only just holding on. Bad business, all right.
All right, I think we're good on that. Okay, so that's good. And let me quit this. Hopefully I got something saved there. I imagine it probably saved some of my progress. So BB Garnett says, yeah, this is a tough question. I think it was probably okay to do the 8. I mean, I would prefer just to have a slot that you could have both sticks of RAM in versus one built in and one not, right? But if you're going to solder on something, at least they're soldering 8 on, so you can easily add another 8 and get yourself to a usable 16. Travis, yeah, once you get into the video editing, it becomes a whole different story, right? And let's do a little No Man's Sky real quick. I've got my game drive here. Actually, no, I'll just download it to show some other stuff here. So we'll go over to... So I just want to get 2 more recent things that I can run on it just so people can see. And you can see how many games I don't play. And we'll just download this real quick. All right. And we'll monitor that download and let that come down real quick. Seanflay says the horses do poop in the game. Great. Excellent. You got to have the poop. Michael brings up a point here about, yeah, there is some redundancy. And you know, it's funny, the new MacBook Air, the M1, which I have on my desk here in front of me. What's funny about the MacBook is that it, I wonder why my Hangouts aren't working. Did Google stop running Google Hangouts or something? Because my whole chat thing isn't working here. What's funny is that the M1 MacBook feels like that to me. And what's funny is that I have the iPad Pro, the 11-inch iPad Pro, and that one it's a nice iPad, but it's not very usable to me. And it's funny because the horsepower in the MacBook is very similar in the sense that it's the same or similar processor, and I'm getting a lot more utility out of the MacBooks than I ever did out of the iPad, even though it's essentially the same guts now. So yeah, the specialization is rather intriguing. And Chris says you could even get the horse poop on your feet. Interesting. Scott misses Web TV. I remember Web TV. And Chris makes a very good point here. Everything that isn't trying to be the thinnest and lightest possible should just have RAM slots. I agree. And my guess is that they were probably trying to hit a price point with this. So you put the slot of RAM on there, which doesn't require a lot of physical labor, right? So you put that slot in there and then leave it empty. because you can solder the slot on no problem. It's the actual putting of the stick in the computer is what adds the cost. So you get the best of both worlds when you do these things this way. And I'm seeing that more and more now with some of these lower cost AMD Ryzen laptops, right? Okay, so I've got to move now to Google Chats. What is that? Hangouts is shutting down. I guess they finally did it because like I can see all my messages, but I can't actually send a chat to anybody. Google Chats. All right, so let me look for that. Google Chats. Is that what they call it? Google Chats? Chat.google.com. Oh yeah, look at this. Loading chat. It takes longer to load than Hangouts did. And how does this work with the other thing they've got? What's the other chat that they have? Okay, so I gotta play around with that because that's how I communicate with Jake right now is with Google Hangouts. But I just text his phone, so I guess I could just send him a text on my iPhone. Okay, so now I'm in Google Chat, but I don't get the SMS on here. Yeah, that's another thing I gotta deal with. I don't get the thing. I don't get any of this stuff. So I will deal with this in a little while. So Chris says, chat is more like Slack. Aha. That makes sense. Roy Gerton is here. Hello. Google Voice does SMS. Okay, so now Google Voice, which was out of vogue, is now in vogue again, right? So let me try Google Voice here and see if I can get it to work on that. All right, so now I'm in Google Voice. And can I, oh, there it goes, yeah. Okay, so that does work. So now I've got to go to Google Voice to send the message to Jake. It does load up quicker at least. All right, so. All right, so now we're just waiting for this to finish downloading. I do have it on my game drive here, but I figured we would just download it because I don't have a data cap, so why not just use some data? But it looks like everyone's downloading Steam games today because it's not running as quickly as it usually does. All right, we'll let that finish up. Do a couple more B-roll things. We'll test out the Linux. Ovan here had a question about the insides, and actually, I can show you the insides because I have some B-roll that I shot a little while ago. So why don't we pull that up for you, and I can show you. So here you go. And I'll pause it right here, and I'll take your chat window off. So it looks like this has only one NVMe, and then it's got one SATA. This is the 14-inch one. And that shielded area is where the memory goes. So that's what you got there. All right, so now we're almost done downloading this, and we'll try this out real quick. And then, as Joseph points out here, if you want to have a video chat, you got to use Google Meets and not Google Chats. And then what was the other one that Google has? It was another video chat that worked with their other Google Assistant devices, right? So there was that one too. Google Duo, yes, that's what I was thinking of. What happened to Google Duo? Is that still around? Let me look for Google Duo. So Google Duo is free, simple video calling. It brings you face-to-face with people that matter most. And that still is working. So that's more like a FaceTime, I guess, which is different than Meets. So there you go. Brian Parker is here. Hello, Brian. I'm going to have the review of that projector up tonight by the way, the projector that Brian sent us. And then today was going to be a day where we played around with the other projector that some of you asked me to buy in the last live stream that we did, except this got more complicated, so I figured I would stream my finishing up of the work on this one. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to communicate. So Travis uses Duo, and then Chanfley says there's Google Messages for SMS on Android, which is a whole different thing. Duo works on iPhones. And yeah, we're going to try some Linux on this too, Ovan, in a minute. So once we get this little B-roll of this thing shot, we're going to play with that. And No Man's Sky is in. So we're just going to load that up real quick. And we had Google Allo. I remember, what was the other one? What did they call that one? It was kind of the precursor to how Google Docs allowed you to share. All right, let's take a look here. Now they've got a new game mode now, which is like these expeditions. Is that in the multiplayer? Well, let's go back to my save game real quick. I'm just getting some B-roll here. Jennifer Gonzalez wants to know, how does Fortnite run on the laptop? It actually runs pretty good on this one. I'll have to go back and look at the footage that Jake shot. But if you were to go to any of my reviews of the 4500U, it'll run pretty good. I think at like 1080p, medium settings or so, I think you could probably get 60 frames per second out of it. So Meritrunks had this laptop and returned it. I would love to know why you did. What was the what kind of problems did you have? Because I discovered with this that if you don't have that RAM slot populated, you don't get the performance. Yeah, I got to get back into No Man's Sky again. I really like this game. I would say this is like kind of like an Animal Crossing for space enthusiasts, for space fighter game enthusiasts. All right, so we are on which planet are we on? I don't know where I am. This is not my toxic planet. I forgot where I left off. Let me check my settings real quick. I'll record a little more B-roll of this. Graphics options. Is it 3 o'clock already? My goodness. All right, so we have everything set to standard resolution. All right. And if my past experience is correct, we get about 25 to 30 on the ground. We're not seeing some textures here, though, so I wonder if that's still drawing in. There's something shiny over there. Let's take a look and see what that is. So it's funny, every time they do an update, stuff changes. Yeah, see that? There's no textures here. All right, the animals are attacking me now. So let me go in and see why we're not getting any textures on this thing. Right now it's set to 60 FPS max. We're never going to get close to that, so. And we'll kind of reboot the graphics here. All right, let's see if that does anything. I've seen this before with No Man's Sky, even on my NVIDIA stuff. Sometimes the textures don't draw in right away. So let's play around a little bit more with this. I was playing in VR, so my controls are still inverted from last time. So let me just go. There we go. So what we'll do is we'll go over to this planet here. Yeah, so the textures are a little messed up on this one. And I got to troubleshoot that a little bit. So Meritrunks did not like the display. Saw a little backlight bleed on it. And he also and the touchpad was very mushy feeling. Yeah, I'm not crazy about the touchpad either. It's for me, it's a little too springy. But maybe you're feeling the same thing I'm feeling. It's just a different sensation, different strokes, as they say. Yeah, so we're still missing textures here. You see that? It'd be hard to see. So I'm going to actually quit the game and go back in and see if that improves anything. And it is a little choppy on here. It is running. And this game tends to get a little choppy. There's a lot of stuff that gets loaded in. And so it gets a little choppy, and then it kind of smooths out. Fan noise isn't bad on it, actually. I'm not hearing much of it. If you hear a fan as you're watching, that's my air handler on the other side of the room that's on the fritz. So I got one of those split systems, and it's been a little flaky as of late. I wonder if I could do one of these expeditions. Let's see. Oh, I'll call these new modes here. Permadeath, Creative, Community Expedition. I'm going to have to try that Community Expedition. We should do like a channel version of that. Jennifer's wondering is it loud? No, it's not loud. The fan's not bad at all. Speakers are pretty good on it. And yeah, I think that's where the ThinkBook kind of comes in. It's got slightly better build quality than a run-of-the-mill consumer laptop, and I guess they're kind of gearing this towards kind of like small businesses. So you don't get the thin bezels or anything, but it's adequate. And we'll boot Linux up on it in a minute. But yeah, it doesn't get too hot. The fan isn't too noisy. It's got a lot of room inside to kind of take care of the heat. You can see what the cooling system looks like here. Give you another view of it there. So it's got two lanes there on the heat pipe there, a nice big fan, and the larger fan actually makes it so it's not as noisy. Yeah, so we're doing about 30 frames per second here. Still some issues with the textures. It's just missing some texture to it. So we have to tweak this a little bit more. And what you'll see when we go into space is it'll do a little better in space. If you're into like spaceship games, this is the one to get, because you can just go to any planet that you see. There's a lot of stuff that you have to kind of build up to be able to do, especially if you do like the regular mode. Yeah, I've seen this run better. It's weird because I've seen this game run better on some of these Ryzens, but let me just double check my video settings here real quick. I got the footage I need. I just wonder if this is a symptom of the new update. I'm going to turn VSync off completely and see if that fixes anything. And let's go back out one notch, go to our graphics options. Yeah, I've got it like on super low settings for everything. Improve things a little bit. Let me go jump back down to the planet here. What's that? Oh, this is one of my, yeah, so this is like a lush planet that I discovered earlier. I leave these little bases, little notes for myself so I can go back and visit them later. So this would be one that I would probably say is better at 720p. And I created a little base over here, apparently. And we'll set her down right over here. Yeah, still missing textures. Very weird. And I've got the AMD drivers on here too, so it's, I don't know if it's just a bug in the game. You see, it's got no textures on them. It's like all flat shaded. Look at the grass. See that? And we rebooted and did all that kind of stuff too. I'll leave a note about that in my notes there. Yeah, so the screen isn't, if you're used to like some of the Apple screens and some of the brighter ones that are out there now, like it's definitely on the dimmer side. Although if it doesn't feel quite, I'll have to double check and see exactly which display they have on my demo unit here. So yeah, there you go. All right, one last thing to try out. We're just going to do a quick boot of Linux. So we can experiment with that real quick. And I should have enough to shoot my review. Let me just grab my drive here that has that on there. And we'll go ahead and just get this installed. Now, we had a lot of debate on the channel about how to best test Linux. And we kind of came to the consensus that, you know, doing, I'll go to ThinkBook, guys. Doing the external drive boot is the best way to do it. All right, so this one, I have to hit the F1 key. Let's see if it's, that's what we're going to do. Let's try that real quick. And we'll get this going, and we'll see how it does. Yeah, so normally I would have been shooting this today. Oops, I missed my opportunity. Reboot one more time. It does come up pretty quick, though, doesn't it? So I would have shot this today if not for the fact that I was trying to make sure that the RAM was the reason for its performance shortfalls, which it turned out to be the case. So it performs much better, again, with that second stick of RAM installed. All right, let's see. Oh, it goes up so quick. Maybe it's F10. And we did not restart the laptop before we, so maybe I'll restart the laptop when we finish up our Linux thing. We'll try that. We'll try the other thing here. Let's see if we can get this thing to boot into the BIOS screen. F10 isn't it? Maybe it's delete. Every laptop has a different key to get into its thing there. So maybe it's F2. All right, we'll try F2. Did I just do F2? I think I did do F2. Let me try to delete. And I found with these Lenovos is that sometimes the ThinkBook will do something different than the ThinkPad. They all have their own little quirks. This is delete now. Delete didn't do it. So we'll try F2 again and see if that gets us in. All right, so we'll do F2. I fully expect this to run Linux, though. And Big DOV is here from Scotland. Hello there. hitting F2. Give us a BIOS. Nope. No dice. Now, it could be because I'm holding down the function key, so that might do it. I don't know the battery life on this yet. I've got to do a little bit more work on that. I would imagine it's probably about 8 hours-ish. But again, it's all a matter of what you're doing on it, right? So, all right, let's try F8 and see if that gets us in there at all. Oh, okay, let's try F2 without the function key. Okay, let's try that. Nope. That didn't do it. We'll try F10 without the function key next. They don't like you getting into that BIOS. All right, let's try F10 without the function key. There we go. This is the diagnostics, but I think this will get us to where we want to go, right? Nope. All right, so we got the diagnostics up. But that's not what we want here. Let's quit this. Let's try F2 or maybe delete. Yeah, let's try F2 again and see if we can get in with that. Yeah, it definitely doesn't like the F2. All right, so what did we try? We tried F2, F10. F10 got us to the diagnostics, so let's do F8 next and see if that does anything. This is F8. Nope. F6. Okay, that's the one we haven't tried yet. Yeah, F6 or F1, because all we really need is the boot menu. So let's go out of here. Let's try F6. This poor laptop, it's been through a lot. Had its guts strewn out for all of you to see. F6 did not do it. Yeah, we tried the delete key already, Mark, so we've got to do F12. Okay, we'll try that, or F1. We haven't done F1 yet, so let's try that. We'll give that a shot. All right, so we'll restart one more time. This time we're going to hit F1. And you see what goes into these reviews. All right, F1, Red Hornet says. Everybody says F1, this is going to do it. This will be it. F1. There we go. All right. What a pretty BIOS screen they've got here. Okay, get out of that. Go to boots. And let's see, where's our boot order? Okay, so we'll enable. Gosh, they don't make this stuff simple, do they? Okay, here we go. So now we're going to move the stock plop, which is what it's plugged into. We're going to move this up the list. There we go. So now I'm going to hit F10 and save it. Save and exit. Okay, this should do it. F1, we have a winner. On Red Hornet, put that on the Amazon chat. All right, so now we'll boot up into. You know what's funny now is that Ubuntu will put up the system logo, the BIOS logo. So when we were looking at that Microsoft Surface Laptop Go, I got a chuckle out of it because you're booting up Ubuntu, but you got the Windows logo on it. And it runs great on the Microsoft devices. They've really become very friendly to alternative operating systems. So Jason's wondering about the specs. This is a Ryzen 4500U. What we did today, I hear audio. What we did today was put in an extra stick of RAM because they configured it only with 8 gigabytes soldered, and that was a single channel memory configuration. So what we did is we put in another stick of 8 to bring it to 16, and that seemed to work. All right, so Wi-Fi is good. Let's check Bluetooth. Bluetooth is good. We know the audio works. The video seems to be working. So why don't we grab some B-roll and we'll go visit my YouTube channel. So we got the Ethernet plugged in, so the Ethernet's working. Look at that. And your browser can't play this video. Why is that? I don't know. Let's see. We'll go back to. We'll try this again. It does work. I mean, it's fine. And we got the ads here. We're going to skip that. Yeah, it seems to be working just fine. Nice and quick. Yeah, we are good on Linux. So let me just make a note of that clip there. Okay. Do the volume keys and brightness keys work? Let's take a look at that. So if we hit the... Yep, volume works. And brightness. Let's take a look at brightness. So function, yep. Brightness works too. Good stuff. Steven says doesn't think that video is in HD. Let's take a look. It's 1080p. Yep. Yeah, it's working just fine. This is actually coming in over the Ethernet, but we did see the Wi-Fi pop up. So yeah, we're in good shape. Not bad. All right, so let's shut her down here, and then we'll go back into Windows. Yeah, what I do is I have, I update it whenever they come up with a new version of Ubuntu, but I've got it loaded up on this. This is like one of the best little enclosures. They unfortunately don't make these anymore, but this has proven to be a really useful device for me. So I've got like a SSD that I boot up. It's an old Kingston 120, and whenever there's a new version of Ubuntu, I download it and just pop that on there, and then we can test Linux out. It's pretty quick and easy. So good stuff. Thank you for the congratulations, Red Hornet. Yeah, we hit 300,000. It feels just like 200,000. You don't get a trophy, and I've got the old trophy up there, right there. So that was the one I got when I got 100,000, but they don't give you one for 200,000 or 300,000. I got to get to 1 million now, so we'll get there slowly but surely. All right, let's do one more thing. I just wanted to see if rebooting the computer fixes that texture issue in No Man's Sky. I don't think it's going to, but we'll give it a shot and see. I sometimes even see that on my my computer upstairs sometimes, but it draws it in usually pretty quickly, so I don't know what the deal is with that. So let's go back in and just jump into that real quick. Red Dead Redemption 2 looked fine. And actually ran better than I expected it to run, so that was pretty good. All right, so we'll try this one more time, and then I'm going to call it a day on this stream. We've been going for about, it's only, about an hour and 43 minutes. All right, let's go and jump into, and we'll load the game up here. Yeah, I love this No Man's Sky game. The expeditions look really fun. I'm going to have to play that with some friends. I need to get some friends first, and then I'll play it with them. It's funny, like all my friends, we all have kids now, so it's like we just don't have time for this kind of, to spend the time that you really would want to spend. My daughters love Animal Crossing, so I play a lot of Animal Crossing with my kids. And believe it or not, Animal Crossing, I kind of like it. It's not a game I would have had played before I had kids, I think. But Red Hornet wants to know, have I done any touchscreen monitor reviews lately? I have not. There aren't many like distinct touchscreen monitors. I do have one from Lenovo somewhere that I don't know if I got to yet or not. Yeah, it's still doing the texture thing. See that? I don't know if it's something unique to this game or not. It just doesn't seem to be drawing in textures. And we got the drivers updated. So this is like the latest AMD drivers that are not beta. But yeah, it's just not drawing in the textures there. All right, I'll research that a little bit. Sometimes like you can switch it into a different mode or whatever, but let's see if that does it. This is ground truth ambient occlusion. Oops. You know what I could do also is just reset everything to default. Let's try that. So give that a shot and see if that impacts anything. And let's see how it does there. All right, so now we'll just jump it back. So Champlay was asking me about car gadgets. I did a few back in the day. You know, I think the problem with these car gadgets, and if you all have some like good name brand ones, that would be helpful, because what works best on my channel, and we talked about this during the 300,000 subscriber special, is that the kinds of things that do well on my channel are products that are more known as far as the manufacturer is concerned. And I'm finding that a lot of the dashboard cameras, there's not like a well-known brand name that makes them. So I don't do as well with those because I'll get my initial subscriber views and then it kind of drops off from there. But if there's a camera out there that's worth looking at, I'm happy to look at that. Because I haven't done much on the car stuff. And Gary's getting the M1. It's kind of decked out, 1 terabyte of storage, 16 gigs of RAM. You're going to like that. I'm very happy with my M1 MacBook. I am really looking forward to the MacBook Pro. Like the next, it's doing so well with the current, with the 1.0 of this chip. I can't even imagine what it's going to look like on an upcoming one. Yeah, same thing. Very odd. All right, let's go through my portal here. So I have these portals set up all over the place, little stargates, and I can travel to my other bases around the universe. And what's cool is that if you were to go, here, we'll go to the base that my daughter and I built. If you were to go and stumble across one of my planets, you would see the base, and you would actually find me. And it was funny because my daughter and I were playing one night, and there's a star system that a bunch of people on Reddit kind of set up as a home base. So it's not unusual to find other players over there. So we were in like one of the adjacent solar systems, and somebody was like looking for a particular part, and we had it. And so he found us on the planet, and we were able to help him out. It's pretty cool. Yes, this is our Bubblepopia planet. Yeah, so for whatever reason, we're just not getting any textures here. And I just wonder why that is. Like some of the textures are drawing in. So like the wood here, that looks like it's got a texture on it. But a lot of these other textures, like look at that, it's just not there. So let's go back. See if I can get it to put it into 720p and see if that, and it keeps going to borderless windowed mode also, which I don't want. So I'm going to turn it down to 720p. got to restart again. All right, so quit desktop one more time. I'm determined to get this to work properly. Yeah, so Chris Allegretta, we should organize something. So now they have this expeditions mode, which just came out the other day. And so what it does is it has you and a bunch of players all together starting the game on the same planet. And so you can kind of work together to get established, which I think is a neat approach to the game. And that's what's kind of fun about it, is that it's this big sandbox, right? It's like both for the player but also for them, because they can apply or overlay any kind of scenario on top of this engine that they've built for this. It's really, there's no end to it. There's no beginning, almost, really. I mean, you start the game off and kind of build yourself up. And so my save file here is pretty good now. I've got my freighter. I've got a fleet that I send out on missions. I've got a little base set up. You saw that a little bit earlier, so it's pretty fun. And Ovan says that this laptop has a bigger fan than most. Yeah, it does have a pretty big fan. Check it out. So it's not that loud. What's nice? What's nice is that if it's bigger, it's quieter. So it's really not loud. It did pass the 3D Mark stress test that we put it under. So it seems like a pretty solid little laptop here. Once you put the RAM in. Yeah, again, we're still not seeing the textures working properly here. So this could be a little glitchy thing with No Man's Sky. It is running better at 720p. So there you go. And I'm just trying to think. Oh, Anchor's got dash cams, huh? All right, I'll check out something like that at some point. The Anchor stuff does pretty well. Amir wants to know, does it come with a GPU? No, this comes with just the. I don't have Cyberpunk, by the way. This comes with just the AMD Ryzen graphics built into the APU. I don't think Cyberpunk would run well on this at all, because this is not bad, but it's not quite able to do something like that. All right. I think we're pretty good here. I just want to check my notes on this and see what else I wanted to test. You know what I might do is just do a quick, I just want to have one comparison of, yeah, let's do, I think he did put Fortnite on here. I don't know if he took it off or not. Let's see. But this is on Jake's account, so I may not be logged in. Let's take a look. So we're going to pop into this real quick, and then we'll call it a day. It's almost 4 o'clock here already. My goodness. This is why I have Jake work on this stuff, because if I was doing this all day, I'd never get anything shot. It just takes forever to get these computers tested, which is fine. That's how you want it. You don't want to. It looks like he had to take it off. Okay, so we'll let's see if it'll load. I got to install it again. All right, so let's go back to GTA 5, which I think is installed on here. So I just want to show the difference in having the RAM versus not having the RAM. It's something that I can use to very quickly demo that. I do have my game drive over there. Let me go grab that real quick. And then we'll call it a stream. Where did it go? I'm not sure where that went. So I had that drive out a little while ago, so I could just delay having to install a bunch of extra stuff. What's the other one? See, my other problem is I've got solid state drives all over the place now. First world problem. So, or 21st century first world problem. I'm not sure where that went. Well, I think I got most of what I set out to accomplish today done. Unless it fell off the table here. Oh, here it is. All right, let's try this real quick. So I do have GTA 5 on this drive. Okay, so this is what I love about Steam, is that I can just put them on these SSDs and then move them around from one computer to the next, so we don't have to keep downloading stuff to make it work. And what you do is you go into Settings, and you go to Downloads, and you just point it at the drive. And so every time we install a new computer or get a new computer in, we just take our little game drives here and pop them in there, and you're good. So we're going to just do a little before and after, because we were getting, for GTA 5, for example, at 720p, 25 to 30 frames per second, and I think we could probably get the same now at 1080p because we have the second stick of RAM installed. And that'll help me illustrate the point about why you want to get this thing going. And as Ben points out, it's not quite a gaming laptop. We're at the point now where if you get one of these AMD Ryzen laptops, and actually now some of the Intel ones too, with the new XC graphics, you can get to a point where some of these games actually run. You know, you got to run them at low settings and yada yada, but you've got some good stuff. And thermals on this are really good. I will give you that. And Chris makes a very important point here that, you know, a bulk of this review is going to be about the laptop, not so much about the gaming. But you know, what's fun about games is that it's a way to demonstrate visually the graphics power of the machine. So if you're looking for something that, so we'll go to 1080p here. Oops. And we'll apply the changes. And I think he's got everything set low here. Yeah. Okay, so we're good there. And so now I'll go into my story mode. And so what we should see here is probably about the same performance we had at 1080p or 720p running at 1080p now. And Redacted wants to know, what chip does it have? This is a 4500U. So this is the same as what we've seen from other Ryzen machines for a while. Except the reason why we're streaming this today is because when I first tested this, the performance wasn't what I expected it to be. And the reason it wasn't was because it only had one stick of RAM. All right, so now we are running, actually, you know what I'm going to try to do here? Let me see if I can get Fraps to run here real quick, because then I can visually, I don't know if I have to restart the game to get those frame counters up, but oh, it's working, perfect. So now at 1080p, this is with 2 sticks of RAM, now we're running at 40, 50-ish frames per second, right? Big difference. Now what I usually do here, let me just pop out of my car. What I usually do is I grab my my rocket launcher and I send myself to the hospital so that we have this one spot in the game where we typically kind of demo this stuff. All right, so here we are. And now we'll kind of do our usual thing here. Say for an old game, this really looks good. You know, like. All right, so we'll get our car here. Pardon me, buddy. Yeah, there you go. And I can't tell you how many copies of this I've purchased over the years. I had it on the Xbox 360 when it came out, and then I got the Xbox One version, and now, of course, we have the PC version. Yeah, so we're doing about 40, 45 frames per second-ish, right? I mean, it's not bad. Oops, not going to go over that. Let's go down this streak here. I'm just trying to get a decently lit scene here because it's kind of in the dusk setting here. Oops, oops, there we go. Let's do that. That'll work. I'm just doing some recording here while we... So this is 1080p at the lowest settings. And because the fan on this is a little on the larger side, it's not that loud. So I mean, these ThinkBooks are really solid little laptops. Like if you don't want the ThinkPad, but you want some of that build quality and you want, you know, some decent performance, it's a good choice. And this is the AMD one. I got an Intel one in also. And the Intel one has the i5 processor. But yeah, we're doing much better now with the extra stick of RAM. Okay, got what I needed. So I am happy. And that's the extent of the game playing that I do these days. All right. Yeah, so I think we're going to see a lot more of the 5,000 ones. Those are kind of on the horizon right now. I let Lenovo know that if you get one in, I want to get it, and so I can review it. I did reach out to HP, and they are letting me borrow one of theirs. But they don't have an ETA, so they are in demand. So I think we'll see those come out pretty soon. Yeah, without the extra stick of RAM, as Gamer X Technology here says, without that extra stick of RAM, you're not going to get too far. So there you go. And Ovan bought it with the 4700U, I think. So good stuff. All right, everybody. I think I have accomplished what I set out to do, so I'm going to go take the dog for her afternoon walk and then see what I can get done here before the kids show back up again. They didn't have school today, so it's been like one of those days where it's kind of like a weekend but isn't. So I'm going to probably shoot the review of this now tomorrow. I was hoping to have some time to shoot it today, but we'll see if I can squeeze out a shoot before everybody gets back. The good news is I got a lot of B-roll now, so that's helpful. So I might be able to pull it off. We'll have to see how we do here. But yeah, it's not a bad machine. It looks nice. You know, it's all metal. It's got a nice rigid feel to it. I looked at the 15-inch one last week, and I just love the fact that you got Ethernet built in. You know, so it's like a good small business machine. Doesn't feel all that heavy. I just have to do a little bit more work on the battery life, so we'll get that figured out ahead of the next video, the review that we'll do of it. But no, it's good. I feel like I got a good feel for it now. So what happens is that generally, you know, when Jake works on them, I'll have his notes. I'll sit down and spend a little bit of time with it just to make sure I agree with what his findings were, and usually I do. But this one, I was like, something's not right here, you know? So that's what prompted me to do the stream today, to like put that RAM in. I shucked it out of another computer. So I put the RAM in just to make sure that it wasn't something wrong with it. And there's nothing wrong with it, but you need to put that RAM in. And I think that's going to be a big focus of that video. So there you go. All right, everybody. I am going to head out, but I will see you all on the next one. I might stream. You'll probably see me over the weekend. I think we're doing some Easter stuff on Sunday, but I might have some time tomorrow. So, you know, hit those notification bells, and when I pop back on, you will see me here. And I want to thank Travis Rhodes for your Super Chat contribution, and I will be back again before you know it. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining me today during my little work session here. And I do these all the time, so hit the notification bell. And if you're not yet following me on Amazon, click on the link in the video description and you can follow me on Amazon. And I do a lot over there. Usually I do a stream in both places at the same time, but sometimes we do an Amazon-only thing. So follow me over there, and you can see all my videos there too. All right? Catch you all on the flip side, and I'll be back again before you know it. Bye-bye.